But if you bring back
Mitchell,
Roach,
Proctor.
and Proctor, 1, 2, 3 right there,
that's
and
nice.
that's what we always talk about in the NCAA tournament. You need guard play, and that would be some really
Mitchell
solid.
year 2 is Proctor year 2 is scary, man.
Yep.
Definitely Mitchell, because he, like we said, he kind of had to defer a lot this year.
Yep.
So, but Ryan Young year 5 is who we really scared of. What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Better Blue Podcast. This is episode 20. Sitting here with my brother Ryan Kelly.
Other side of the couch.
Yours truly, James Michael McAdoo. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We got a fun episode, although tough episode for the Blue Devils. Joining Carolina out here.
Going fishing.
Yeah, going fishing, as they say. Tough loss to Tennessee in the second round. If you haven't, check us out. We're on all podcast platforms, Spotify podcasts, Apple podcasts. We're also on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok for the time being. The Better Blue Podcast. Hit us in the mailbag at thebetterbluepodcast@gmail.com. Excited to be back. You know, we had a great episode last week celebrating, although it was tough for me, Duke's, triumphant, finish going into the tournament, winning the AC tournament. And here we are, a week later, and that just shows you how quick things can change, especially during tournament time. So you want to talk to us about that, Ryan?
Absolutely. And before we get into this potentially a little bit negative conversation between Duke and Carolina's seasons and the way they ended, I think we got to give credit, which we haven't done very much throughout the year, to the Duke and UNC women's basketball programs who, as we record this on what is Sunday night in the States, Monday morning here in Japan, are both still alive in the round of 32 of the NCAA tournament. Duke ready to take on Colorado and Carolina, Ohio State. So kudos to the ladies. We're rooting for both of you.
For sure.
I'll say I'm rooting for I never root for the UNC men's program, but
Carry the torch.
I'll root.
Absolutely.
Because in the NCAA tournament, you can root for underdogs, and you're an underdog in that game. I think you're
we're the
6 seed going up against the 3.
Yep.
So go women's teams. That's who we can root for.
Hold it down.
Hold
it down for us.
For this podcast. But yeah, definitely a tough game to watch. It was in the middle of the night here. So I had to wake up to the Duke L and a lot of texts, and then got the chance to watch the game. And if we were to break it down, it really was Duke just being, they weren't punked, but they're out physical.
Yeah.
They're out physical for a lot of the game. It was
Still
clear.
Could have won, though, bro.
Absolutely could have won that game. And before we get into the nitty-gritty of it all, big picture, the disappointment is the bracket set up so nicely if they could get through Tennessee to find themselves in – I mean, it's not like it would have been a cakewalk. Every game is – you have to win every game.
Because Purdue
took the loss. On the bottom of the bracket, Princeton won.
Yep, Princeton won. They beat Arizona.
So you're running into potentially Marquette in the Elite Eight. So there was certainly a path for Duke to make their way to a Final Four. I picked them to win the whole thing, obviously. So my bracket is most definitely busted.
Man, if y'all would have won that game, you would have definitely been. Because I think that's what happened to Carolina last year. Somebody got – they ended up playing the team. I forget who it was. The Cinderella team.
St. Peter's?
St. Peter's.
Yeah.
They got that matchup.
They got the St. Peter's matchup who ran out of gas.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it was like basically guaranteed.
Yep.
Man.
So big picture, that is a disappointment. And they just got out physical. Tennessee had 4 seniors starting and clearly wanted to set the tone. And I think that's a reputation of Rick Barnes' teams.
For sure. To
be very physical. And Duke, I would not argue that they didn't try and match that physicality. They just look like a young team with a lot of freshmen who weren't really sure if they should, I don't want to say flop, but like what they should do with the physicality. Duke was out-rebounded which has
like,
been a
man,
rarity.
Can we play basketball?
Yeah,
These
exactly.
dudes are like, nah, we finna.
Yeah, we're mucking this game up. Yeah,
for
100%.
Yeah.
Duke was out rebounded 35-30, which throughout the season Duke had out rebounded almost everybody. Lost 12-6 on the boards.
Yeah.
So it was a fight and a game of runs.
It was
a game of runs.
I thought they were. I mean, y'all were up early in the game. I think it was like ninth. The biggest lead y'all might have had was like 6 points. It was 19-13.
19-13. Yeah.
Back and forth. They went on a run late, and basically to close the first half. And I was like, But y'all came out and y'all fought strong in the second half. Y'all never folded whatsoever. You got good contributions from Whitehead. Hit a couple shots. It was good
early.
To see him.
Yeah,
to get a couple to go. Proctor really paced y'all for a majority of the game.
Second half especially he was the one that was creating the offense.
Yeah, but you just couldn't get over the hump. And I don't think the final score was indicative of how close a game it really was.
Yep.
But that's the tournament. You had a guy on their team just absolutely go bonkers. Kamwa had the game of his life.
10 or 13 from the field, 27 points, 23 in the second half.
They had, the left-handed shooter whose name escapes me that hit some tough threes.
Yep.
But that's what happens, But, man, tough L, man, because it's like you said, I mean, y'all were focused on the game for sure, you would hope, but y'all were definitely, maybe not the players so much, but the fans, I know, because you got to be looking forward to just the fact that, man, the path is there. The path is there. And Tennessee wasn't a team that was, world beaters by any means.
No, they went into the tournament not playing particularly well. They had lost 6 of 10.
And even after beating y'all, I'm like, I mean.
Yeah, I don't look at them and say they're going to the Final Four.
People would have, I mean, the world,
yeah,
minus probably the Tar Heels, would have rather seen Duke playing whoever they're going to play next.
Yep.
No disrespect to Tennessee and, their organization, their club, but it's like people would have rather seen, people want to see the blue bloods in the tournament.
And look, Duke, looking at the whole season, this was kind of a microcosm of it. We have, and this is not an excuse because Tennessee also had their point guard missing and hurt.
Yeah.
But Mark Mitchell I guess, decided out 5 minutes before the game. They said Whitehead found out 5 minutes before the jump ball that he was going to be starting or something like that. Duke was a team that was 19-1
with their full
roster and 8-8 when somebody was hurt.
And he started every game.
Yep, he started every game, and I would argue was somebody physically that could match the intensity of Tennessee. And it wasn't like he was a huge scorer, but his size, his length, his rebounding ability could have certainly helped the team.
You can go back to our reaction pod episode from when they played Kansas, and I even said I liked him.
Yep.
He was a guy that flew under the radar. He wasn't lively. He wasn't Whitehead. He was basically the last 5-star, in terms of that recruiting class. But I like his game. I think it'll translate well to the pros, and I think he definitely found his footing as the season went on. And we saw that especially in the last Carolina-Duke game. He had some tough buckets in the second half. Tough blow.
Just feels like felt like he became a bit of the glue guy.
For sure.
That filled the role that was needed over the course of a game. He got big rebounds. He made tough buckets. He just kind of – so that was a tough loss, especially right before the game. And I guess the report is they don't know what his knee – it was something with his knee that happened in practice or which is just a tough break.
Had to be freak. I mean, you're not practicing.
Yeah.
Maybe try to do some dunker. Just who knows, man.
Just a tough break for Duke, and and then the bench all of a sudden became very tight.
Grandison gets thrown in there. We hadn't seen him.
Yeah.
Since ACC regular season play, really.
The athleticism I think was a little too much for Ryan Young.
Yeah.
Even though he was bigger and more physical, he wasn't going to get a lot of playing time in that game. So. Yeah.
Who will be back? Ryan Young.
He's back. He has announced his back.
Let y'all know I'm coming back. See me another year in Durham, North Carolina, baby.
I would certainly go get that Duke degree, whatever.
Where were you going, bro?
Yeah, I don't know where he was going. Well, I guess you could leave and he probably could have graduated.
Oh, that's true.
I'm sure
You're
with
right,
4 years he could have been graduated.
This will be his COVID year.
Yeah, it's his 5th year, COVID year. So, and that's a kid you want on your roster.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't want him playing as much as he was at the beginning of the year, but you certainly want his intensity.
I mean, I think we even dating back to like we got some statistics from when they scrimmaged Houston. He was like y'all's lead scorer. We were like, what?
Yeah.
He's for sure going hard every day.
He's first on the floor. Yes. I mean, and he's capable of.
Great guy.
You post him up.
Great
guy.
guy.
Great guy.
Great guy.
You want him on your team.
Man.
Yeah, you want him on your team. So, a couple other stats that I would say if I was a Duke fan watching that game, I would have said, "Oh wow, Tennessee should have been called for way more fouls," and that wasn't the case. Yeah. Duke was whistled for 17 fouls to Tennessee's 11. Again, not blaming or complaining on officiating, but that was a tough break. Only shooting 7 free throws, the second fewest of the season for Duke. So, things just didn't come together. The Tennessee shot the ball from 3 at a level that was better than Duke.
9 of 21, 42%.
Roach getting his 4th foul and having to sit out for a little bit in the second half. Not much, but a little bit. Just there was a lot of depth for Duke when it came to it, especially with Mitchell out. So a tough one, no question. And now
listen, I hate to just switch up on you, but that man Proctor looked good.
Yes,
he looked real good. And once again, go back and listen to some of our early episodes. I am on record being a huge fan of his game. He grew up in this game, bro.
I mean, he came into Duke a year early.
Yeah,
it makes sense that he would be so much better at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And he's an 18 that has played international competition.
For
sure. So he was a little more used to the physicality than a guy that comes in a year early.
Yeah. Didn't seem to faze him.
Nope.
Didn't seem to faze him. The stage didn't seem to faze him. We saw that in the second Duke game.
Yep.
When they played Carolina. But this was definitely his, coming out party. Just to read you his numbers, 16 points, 6 assists, 2 rebounds, but just really steadied the ship. At times where I was like, they're getting ready to blow. Tennessee's getting ready to, which they did towards the end, but he kept y'all in the game, hit some tough shots down the stretch in the second half, finishing over contact, pulling up from behind the arc, hit a tough 3. I mean, I know he was only 1 for 5 on the game, but the one that he did hit was very timely. Yeah. So
I think that was definitely somewhat of a turning point of the season for Duke was when they really gave the ball to Proctor and put him as the point guard, moved Jeremy Roach off the ball to be more of a scorer. Between that and the ascension generally of Lively and his playing time defensively, though in this game, amazingly, he didn't even get a shot. I mean, 0 for 0. So you could see that the physicality was an issue, though he did rebound well and had a couple blocks. But,
is there any blame to be placed on the shoulders of Whitehead and Lively? We've been very critical of the Carolina players this season, but I feel like we haven't necessarily put any type of blame on these guys who were. I mean, we've said, these aren't your typical 5-star, top 5 recruits that are coming in out of high school. But I'm not really reading too much, on what Blue Devil Nation is saying, but are we disappointed in just the season? This would have been a great game for a guy, like Whitehead or Lively to, kind of put their stamp on a game. But I looked at Lively's numbers. He averaged 5 points. Like, when's the last time the almost consensus
number one
player, on ESPN.com came in and averaged 5 points and 5 rebounds? Now, let me just say this. I see the talent.
Yep.
I see what scouts and the people that do these rankings see. But, 5 and 5, bro, you can't really – it's tough. That's tough to swallow.
I would say that, first of all, coming into the season being hurt as a freshman is a tough place, and both of them started the season hurt and missed chunks of preseason and the beginning of the regular season. And while both of them showed improvement at things during the year, like Whitehead clearly is an elite shooter. To come into college and be over 40% shooter on some tough shots, that one skill is certainly translatable to the next level. I would say his athleticism was not at the level that was expected of the explosive scorer he was supposed to be, but also he was hurt.
Yeah, he was.
So I don't know how much that affected his. I can't sit here and say I watched all of his high school film to know what was seen at that point. Lively really improved as a player throughout the year, except with the ball in his hands.
Yeah, scoring.
And
I watched him play, man. He's got a great feel for moving without the ball.
Yep.
He's got a great feel for setting screens
and attacking the rim.
Clearly elite rim protector.
Yep.
It's just, I mean, just got to be disappointed like that he.
Yes.
You know, I guess they talk about the NBA. The NBA is all about buckets.
Yep.
You know what I mean? He's just not. But you need guys like that, you know. So
it is harder than you would think. I mean, I think you can attest to this, to improve during a season as an individual player.
Offensively, more
especially offensively, because you're so concerned from a coaching staff perspective, but also a player's perspective of the team.
For sure.
And generally, summertime is for improvement, and he has no back to the basket game.
We just have no idea what his offensive game will look like at the next level.
Yeah, I think at this point, if he's going to play at all, which I don't really see happening as a rookie, it's going to be, screen and dive, and then he can affect the game defensively.
Who was the kid y'all had last year? I'm looking at Mark Williams, who had a great offensive touch to the game, and he's just now getting up.
He's playing now.
He is, but he didn't start, and I would say he's light years ahead of where Lively is on the offensive end. But it'll be interesting to see what Whitehead does. I don't know if you saw that, he had a very emotional post-game.
But also seemed to indicate, in my opinion, that he was leaving.
For sure.
He said,
you talk about next chapter.
Yeah, next chapter or whatever.
Chapter.
That's,
more like next book, whatever. Like he's closing this book. But you could definitely see, his disappointment. And that just shows you, man, how quickly things can change, coming out of high school as such a highly touted recruit, dealing with the injury earlier in the year, and we talked about that, how that was going to hamper y'all, but kudos to him, fighting through that, and finishing with a solid game, solid outing.
Started the game better than he finished it. He kind of went quiet a little bit,
but he never seemed to press.
No,
which you can appreciate.
Yep.
He never seemed to press. He never seemed to deviate from what Coach Shire's plan was in terms of trying to make sure the team had the most success.
Yep.
So,
if I was two big picture conversations for Duke basketball after this, this season just ended, so there's a lot of emotions and reactions from fans, from players, from everything. Two conversations that I definitely saw online from Duke fans. First, from Duke fans would be the big question is, was this season a success?
Yeah.
Big picture. And it's an interesting conversation because generally for Duke and for Carolina, Final Fours are the expectation. Championships are the expectation. And around a 32 loss is, not a successful tournament.
Yeah.
But personally, when I look back on the year, I would absolutely, unequivocally call the season a success. One, because players improved. And I think John mentioned that in his end of season or after the game press conference. What was the best part about the year was seeing the improvement of the players individually and as a group. To win an ACC tournament championship is a great accomplishment, obviously.
For sure.
And, we just ran into a tough opponent. Yeah. Again, not to make an excuse here, but also got a tough seed.
Yeah.
Getting the 5 seed, we talked about when they had potentially a 3 seed record and season and end to the season. So
definitely end to the season.
I would say a resounding success still for John. Not let's be honest, not many coaches like Hubert Davis get to the national championship game in their first season. So that would be one. From as a former player perspective, I think that was a success, and hopefully a success that can be built upon, because we're in a position now where some guys who were key cogs on this team may be returning. and then another very good freshman class. And then the other conversation I saw, just from the Duke Carolina combative perspective online, was a bit of people, Carolina fans, saying, doing the all is right with the world now, Duke's out. This is how it's supposed to be. You're with us, that kind of thing. And I thought that was a little weak.
To your first point, I don't think it was a success. All those things that you said are great in terms of building a program. But in my mind, and this is just how I'm wired, if you're not the last one standing on, Monday night, and wherever the Final Four, I think is in Houston this year, then it's not a success. But being able to hang a banner, albeit, at Carolina, the ACC championship banner, it's not even a banner. It's just, they just put there's like one big banner, and it's just like
the year
2023. It's like, you got to look to find that thing. So that's my point of view. I understand, that would be my point of view, even if it was Carolina. It was a good year, and, good. We were able to accomplish some things. But, sorry, I'm talking with my hands like I'm Italian. However, I got to disagree on that. But, can't be mad. Definitely disappointed that, you weren't, like we said earlier in the episode, you kind of saw the path to potentially make a little bit more of a run. It would have been nice to maybe see the program get into the Sweet 16. And then I think we could be, maybe teetering on, quote unquote, a more successful season. But I think at the end of the day, when it comes to the Carolina and the Dukes, if you ain't the last team standing, then it's really not a successful year.
I do just think, if I'm looking, of course, from a fan perspective, I do think that way. It's all about hanging banners. That's what matters. Yeah. But so many times in the NCAA tournament, the best team doesn't win the tournament. And it's luck. It's
staying healthy.
Yeah, things falling the right way.
Shots falling the right way.
And that's why I look at the 2010 national championship. Yeah. Nobody said that was the best team in the country. Yeah. We were a really good team.
For sure.
But nobody was like, this is the best team. They're running the table. And not to say we caught a lucky break, but, we play a West Virginia team that Sean Butler tears up his knee during the game. Yeah. Those things tend to have to happen. Yeah. Or you get to play a team that got an upset and you get a easier matchup. Yeah. There's just things tend to have to fall into place for it all to work out, especially now. The game is so, I don't want to say even, but we're seeing all these upsets. It's just anybody can beat anybody.
Anybody, man.
The talent between one and dones, the transfer portal,
just showed you how great the tournament is, though, man.
It is. And that's what makes it awesome. That's what makes it awesome.
You got a chance. We talked about this off camera. So many of these programs, like, look at Arkansas that just beat Kansas. Arkansas, and I hate to just use them as an example, but they didn't win, the SEC, but they got in the tournament. They're, I think, an 8 or 9 seed. And, there they are knocking off the number 1 seed, the defending national champions, to go to the Sweet 16. And I best believe if they lose, it'll be deemed like a successful season for them, for their coaching staff.
Well, clearly their coach was,
for sure,
Musselman had his shirt off and whipping it around. Sure. So he's
that just
safe
shows
to
you
say.
The difference between the programs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Duke wins the other day, on to the next one.
Yep.
So, but man, it definitely, we'll talk about this probably on another episode, but definitely just brought back memories watching, just the excitement, just how quickly it can change, from just the excitement, the sheer exhilaration of, getting on the bus in front of your fans and them sending you off to wherever you're playing, to getting there and doing the open practices, doing the media, hanging out with your best buds, staying at nice 5-star hotels, playing in front of, your fans, other fans. These are really quote-unquote neutral site games, but, I'm sure you probably experienced this more than Carolina. I would imagine wherever Duke was, people were always cheering. I feel like people always cheer against Duke.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the one thing about Duke is we are very global and across the country. So we always had a very solid fan base there, but was also pretty combative. There were definitely other teams that were going to go, we're rooting against Duke. But that's fun.
For sure. Yeah. It's just,
that's a fun experience.
You have to be I've been able to go to 2 Final Fours in my life, not as a player but as a fan, and it's just unbelievable, just the atmosphere. But for the most part, the Final Four, at least I went to 2 national championships, I should say. It's just really the Carolina versus the other team.
Yep.
But I know you've played and obviously won a national championship. But the earlier round games, there's just a recipe for an upset because the arenas are, for the most part, they're close to being sold out. But you just have such a just mixture, and just the vibe in there is just crazy, and the just anxiety. It's just a weird vibe, man. You just the upsets, you just see them coming,
and it's
you
almost impossible for refs to not keep the momentum going. I mean, the buzz in the building starts when this.
They love it.
Yeah, this 15 seed is going up against the 2, and everything. All of a sudden, everything starts going that lower seeded team's way.
You see it, and you can feel it, man. Even just watching it on TV, you saw Purdue. You're like, it's a wrap for the boys. They going down. So, but it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next coming weeks in terms of what the Blue Devils roster will look like. I know y'all have a great incoming class again, but it'll be definitely some questions.
Yeah.
In terms of Roach got to come back for sure.
Think.
Come on, big fella.
Yep.
Proctor gonna be interesting. I saw something online that said this will be really the biggest test for Duke in terms of the NIL. Will y'all be able to sway him to come back?
Back up the Brinks truck.
Yeah, back up the Brinks truck. If I was him, though, it's tough. I'm not him, but I could see it being good for him either way. I could see him, being first rounder, going and developing for the San Antonio Spurs and going on to have a wonderful career. But I could also see him coming back and continuing to develop and, getting his name in the top 10. And who knows, what he could become.
I mean, we're obviously hoping he comes back.
You think so? But do you think that's what's best for him?
I would say.
Not that we know clearly.
I would say if I'm a first-round pick, I'm gone.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't think no knowledge.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
But I don't know that he's necessarily worked himself into a first-round pick. It would be a San Antonio Spurs betting on his potential because he's so young and showed some things, which is always possible. And now the good thing, from a player perspective,
but he
can test the waters.
He
can go.
Which he definitely will.
I would assume so.
He definitely will.
So we might be waiting a while to hear from him, from Mark Mitchell. I would assume that Lively will announce he's leaving. I would assume that Whitehead will announce he's leaving.
Yeah.
I think the other question that Duke fans are getting a little hopeful for online is K-Flip, and I would venture to guess that he has to leave.
Yeah. I don't even think you should say it like that, though, bro. Like, he doesn't have – it's not like he has to leave. Like, he should – he should go, man.
Yeah, he should go.
Like, he's worked – he's had a good year, and, clearly there's some holes in his game, but, hey, man.
The 2 areas where I could say if he could develop into a better shooter and then I think for his NBA career, because he is a 7-footer,
for sure.
If he showed, next to Lively, it was great for Duke to have kind of those twin towers, but he's going to be a 5 probably in the NBA. And if he came back and played where he was the 5, and that doesn't mean he's not shooting threes, he's not playing his game the same way, but just defensively playing the 5, all those things. If he could show both of those improvements,
especially
he can move up
in this day's NBA game.
But as we know, with the NBA, the longer you stick around, often hurts your stock, even if you get better. So
in my opinion, I see K-Flip, Whitehead, and Lively probably all going. So that's definitely going to leave y'all in a similar situation as Carolina, but you do have more of, a class coming in, I think. Than us. We have a 1 5-star and 1 4-star. But we'll touch on that.
But if you bring back
Mitchell,
Roach, and Proctor, 1, 2, 3 right there.
And
that's what we always talk about in the NCAA tournament. You need guard play. And that would be some really
Mitchell
solid.
year 2 is
Yeah.
Proctor year 2 is scary, man.
Yep.
Definitely Mitchell, because he, like we said, he kind of had to defer a lot this year.
Yep.
So, but Ryan Young year 5 is who we really scared of. All right, man. Shout out to Manscaped.
Yeah.
We got to give a shout out. Got to pay these bills. Got to look fresh for y'all overseas.
Yeah.
Got to give a quick shout out to Manscaped. Listen, all of this, except for the couch, wifey bought the couch. All of this is brought to you by Manscaped. They are the featured sponsor of the Better Blue podcast. We appreciate them. They are the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, which you see before you, is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. What's that offer, Ryan?
20% off and free
off,
shipping.
Fella. And we need
worldwide.
We need it. We didn't get them NIL deals.
No, we did not.
We were playing for the love of the game, baby. 20% off, free worldwide shipping with the code BetterBluePod at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 14 million balls.
Yeah, they're taking care of us all the way over here in Japan.
We appreciate that.
It has been of use.
Yep.
It has been of use in the Kelly and McAdoo households, so we appreciate it.
We do.
I can attest to its acumen, if you will.
It's definitely elite.
Yeah. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code BetterBluePod at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code BetterBluePod. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. If you want to support this podcast from your house, from your office, not from the car when you're driving if you're listening, but please hit up manscaped.com, throw in the code.
Do it.
Look out for us.
Check it out. Summertime is slowly approaching, quickly approaching, actually.
Yeah.
So, the shirt's going to be off. You're going to be out there at the beach.
Yeah.
You need to make sure you're nice and groomed up.
Yeah.
I played in Europe for a couple years, and, they do the Speedos over there. So it's all out in the open. Thankfully, back home, we can get away with the board shorts.
Yeah.
But I was out there at the beach in Italy. They looking at me crazy like, nah, I'm like, y'all, man, I ain't wearing no Speedo, bro.
Yeah, you got to.
Even here, when I tried to buy a swimsuit to go to Guam, I Googled on Amazon.com. I'm like, men's swimming trunks. The first thing that pops up is Speedos. So, they're hip to that overseas, man. So we trying to bring that to y'all and check it out,
Yeah, you want hair in the right places.
In the right places.
In the right places, not in the wrong places.
That's facts. Check it out. 20% off. Use the code BetterBluePod at manscaped.com.
Boom.
Listen, let's get a quick update before we wrap up this episode for all my Tar Heel fans out there. The season has been over for a little over a week now. We talked about it, obviously, last episode. We kind of gave a little rundown on, Carolina declining, the NIT invitation. We also talked about, what's next? Who will we see come back? Who will we see depart? Is this the last time we're going to see Caleb Love, Armando, RJ Davis, and so on, rocking the Carolina blue uniform? We obviously knew Leaky Black, his time was done. He set all types of records at Carolina, played the most games, but he was the only guy that we knew for sure would no longer be wearing the Carolina blue uniform. And you even went on record and kind of laid out the decision that was made in terms of coach brought the guys in after that loss in the AC tournament, gave the guys an opportunity to basically, do a little Survivor-like vote process. Shout out to Survivor. Great show. Great show.
Isn't it still going, actually?
I don't know.
I think it might be.
Probably. But I could just see the guys, filling out the card, dropping it in. Like, we needed that on camera.
Yeah, or they're cheating on a test. They're looking over. What's Mondo doing over there?
I'd be interested to see how that all played out. Yeah. But that was confirmed to be true, and although Carolina basically, the Carolina basketball office put out a statement basically saying, that wasn't the end-all, be-all. It wasn't the player's decision. It was a culmination of Coach Davis, the AD, coming together and making that decision and basically opting out. But interesting just to hear that, that was for sure true. We had a couple of the Carolina basketball players' fathers go on, had an article on USA Today, a couple of them basically saying, like, we want our boys to play. We wanted them to be able to compete, to play in the NIT. I think one or two of the fathers, kind of said, but we also understand, the decision that was made. What do you think about that, man? I've seen just people were going crazy, which I was just so surprised. Like, I'm like, man, why are we so thirsty and eager to play in the NIT? And I didn't view it, having played at Carolina, I didn't view it as like we're too good for the NIT. I just viewed it more or less like we got to get this season is over. We have no real shot of winning anything that we at the beginning of the year set out to accomplish. So let's just go ahead and put a nice little bow on this season, put it in the rear view, and move forward.
So big picture, when I look back, we talked about, again, that whole voting process.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was, quote unquote, leaked to the media means that somebody was unhappy with the ultimate decision. I mean, I don't think it would come out, or it was used as the player said they didn't want to play, so that's why we didn't. There was some motive to it all. And I would venture to guess that a lot of the players who didn't get many minutes wanted to play in the NIT, and the veterans were like, this is over. Yeah. I just played for a national championship last year. I don't want to be a part of it.
Dontre Styles came out and basically said he's entered the transfer portal. He was a 2-year player at Carolina. I mean, I think I read one article. He scored like 21 points this entire season. He was a former 4-star he's from Carolina. He was one guy that basically said, I wanted to play in it. The article that I was referring to, Puff Johnson's dad said, I think his son wanted to play in it. DeMarco Dunn, said, he wanted his son to play in it. We're talking about outside Puff Johnson, who's, was injured off and on throughout the season, but he was in the rotation when he was healthy. The other guys were, definitely guys that did not touch the floor this year for the most part. So I understand that. But I also, like I said, understand the fact that, like, this season was more or less cooked, well done. Time to, take it off the grill, put it away, and let's start, cooking up next season. Because we saw the NCAA, the transfer portal opened up immediately, right after Selection Sunday. I think it was that Tuesday. And you saw as soon as, I think our episode dropped last week, 2 dudes, Justin McCoy, who was a senior, who had played at UVA previously, came to Carolina, played here 2 years. Things didn't pan out, clearly. Yep. He dipped. Tyler Nickel, who was a top 100 recruit, came in. He was the all-time leading scorer in Virginia. Shout out to the VA. VA, I'm a VA kid. But, his minutes really never even happened this year. I mean, he was in the rotation at the very beginning of the season, but didn't touch the floor towards the end of the year. They immediately gone.
Yep.
So you saw something's brewing, and that doesn't even touch, Caleb Love, for sure. I think RJ Davis, we've talked about this ad nauseum. RJ Davis will be back. But there's some other guys that are going to have to make decisions. To name a few would be the kid Jalen Washington, who didn't really get much playing time this year. You got JP Tokato's little bro, Seth Trimble. I played with JP when we were in college together. Those are 2 guys that will have to make a decision. DeMarco Dunn as well. So I hate to say it, we could see more guys. We're only a weekend, Kales. We could see 2-3 more guys leave, bro. And I hope not, though.
Yeah.
But
we've talked about it from the beginning of the year, and I would say I don't want to sit here and say it was a mistake by Hubert Davis, because ultimately he might say, look, these guys weren't good enough to play for us.
We weren't in practice. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know that. Yeah. But with team building and the way college basketball is now, where you don't have to sit out to transfer, you have to appease some of these guys. You have to, or your roster becomes just thinned out by people leaving. And these are, Carolina didn't have the best recruiting class in the world, but they're still, like you said, top 100 guys who, even if they don't play, they still can go somewhere and transfer, because somebody will say, he was a top 100 guy for a reason. Yeah. So I do think that was a little bit of a mistake by Hubert, not to, especially early on. Like we talked, the first game of the season, he's barely playing his bench. Yeah. And that might be, honestly, a little bit of the pressure that came with being the number one team.
Sure.
That you know we have our group. We have to win these
The
games.
Iron
We got to
Five.
go with these guys. And yeah, if they had made the tournament and they played 5 guys and didn't go to their bench at all in the tournament, I would have understood. But early in the year, you gotta appease these guys.
And you see, they're dipping.
Yeah.
You know, the kid DeMarco Dunn is going to be a junior next year. We've never even seen him really.
Yep.
We have no type of real sample size. I mean, from game footage, so just reading the room, I wouldn't be surprised if he left. You know, strictly from a fan perspective, I wouldn't be surprised if this kid left. Now, that leads me to say, we don't know what these coach and them are having meetings with these guys, and they're basically having to, which is crazy, have to almost re-recruit. You know, John Shire's gonna have to go to Proctor and almost re-recruit him. Hey, buddy, we want you back.
Yep.
You know, we need you back. This is why. You know, and he's gonna have to, you know, do that all again with these guys. You know, because I'm sure, you know, these guys, they can't be happy, man.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be very interesting, man.
And that might not be the biggest thing that affects your season next year, because ultimately Caleb Love, RJ Davis, Armando Bacot, those are the guys that'll the core guys that will. But you have to have other players around them. I mean, we saw what happened this year.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that, because we could sit here and just, you know, nitpick, but that is the, you know, foundation of Carolina's program right now is Armando, RJ, and Caleb. Now you lost Leaky, so you're gonna have to try to find a wing player that can come in, play alongside those guys, and you're also gonna have to go out and get another 4-man. But the good thing is, with the transfer portal, it can be done. You know, we've seen it. They were able to go out and get a kid, Brady Manick, who went on to have a great year. You know, earlier than that, I think even before the transfer portal was what it is now, we went out and got Cam Johnson, who was at Pitt and turned out to be an amazing player playing at Carolina. So it can be done. Now, it also can, you know, not work out. We've seen that at Carolina. We've seen Carolina bring in guys, and it doesn't work out. So this is where we just have to kind of sit back and wait. The good thing is, you know, you've already seen 3 guys enter the portal. Well, those are scholarships available, you know. So I've said it all along. Who wouldn't, you know, want to pick up the phone call and have the chance to come to Carolina? You know, same thing with Duke, you know. It'll be interesting, though, you know, because we talked about this off camera. Not many people, you know, you're not going to get the best of the best. You know, the guys that you're getting, they got a little baggage. You
Distressed assets
it
is
ain't
what if
know,
we were
like Dion said, it might not be Louis. They coming with that, you know, like you said, they looking for, you know, greener pastures, whether, you know, they're being forced or asked to leave where they are now, or maybe they outplayed, you know, the conference or the team that they're on. You know, Carolina's been linked to a couple guys, none of which are household names. You know what I mean? These are guys like a kid from Brown, Paxton Wojcik from Brown. You know, a kid named Nick Timberlake from Townsend. Another kid that played at the University of Florida who was a former 5-star, Kawasi Reeves. You know,
changing things.
Welcome to the program, fellas.
Here's what I'll say to Carolina fans, to Duke fans, to college basketball fans.
Keep it real, man.
Yeah. The people that are disappointed with Carolina players going into the portal and that want the 4-year, be a part of the program. I just want to be about Carolina basketball. I'll do anything it takes to help us win for 4. Now, some of these guys, 5 years.
Yes.
Those days are dead. They are gone. Dang. There is nobody who's doing that. They're not. Maybe you can get a guy to wait 2 years for their opportunity. Nobody is waiting 3 years for their opportunity. Don't have any expectation of it. This is the way college basketball is going to be moving forward.
It's going to be hit or miss. You're going to have the Carolina season last year.
Yeah.
Hopefully you ain't going to have the one you have this year, but it's going to be, you know, because it's going to be a while. I just don't like looking at Carolina's recruiting class this year, and they have the number 1 class for 2024, but it's just like they're going to be young. You know what I mean? It's going to be tough, bro. College basketball, the landscape is changing so much.
I will look forward to, I will say, when college basketball evens out a little bit more, when the COVID extra year is gone.
When that ends.
I mean, there was a kid on Memphis who was 26 years old playing college basketball, and he had other situations. It wasn't just because of the COVID year, but that really, I think, has been the evening factor. Tournament again, always fun, upsets, but it's these teams who are 4-year, 5-year guys who have been in their program, mid-major program, for all those years, playing against a bunch of freshmen. And
does the NIL have a huge impact? Look at the kid Tyler Nickel. He was a top 100 ESPN recruit. He goes to Carolina. I don't know if he was even getting any NIL.
That's the question.
But he goes there. Doesn't really play. But now it's like he could go to. Instantly, he could be on, George Mason next year. And I'm trying to think of another school, and like Georgetown, and be like the face of the program, and really.
That's a sad state of Georgetown.
But
if you
you know what I mean, though. You know what I mean.
It might be. Georgetown's really bad.
For sure. But
Rick
still,
Pitino is going to be Georgetown coach.
Be the face of the program. Be featured. Make money, and it just leaves Carolina with,
Here's the thing that I found has been a mistake by some of these guys that leave Carolina, even Duke, is you're at Carolina, and even though you're not playing, you don't go down. When you're transferring, you don't go down far enough, if that makes sense.
We'll have to go back and look at some of the kids that have transferred out of Carolina. I know one kid that was there, Kerwin Walton, was there for like 2 years. He transferred to Texas Tech. Haven't heard. It's Carolina, bro.
Yep.
These kids leaving Carolina and going, I remember – the Ware twins transferred back to UCLA.
Yeah.
They didn't fall off the face of the earth.
Yep.
Even I think Larry Drew did the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I remember when I got recruited by Roy, like even when I was at Carolina, that was, bro, you didn't transfer. Clearly this was before the portal.
Yeah.
But that was not even, like, Roy prided himself, similar to, I bet, Coach K, like, you don't leave my school, bro. Like, you come here, you're going to stay here. But those days are gone. I think we even talked about this before the transfer portal. Like when I was in college, like I think Roy had only had I think those were like the only 3 guys that had transferred. Actually, Alex Stevenson had transferred.
And
but it was a family.
Yeah.
It was something to do with his family.
And the people that started transferring were all Cali guys.
They were Cali
They all
guys.
went back West Coast.
Having lived in Cali, bro, why'd you leave? Tell me why you left, bro. Why would you leave Cali? That's how good Carolina is. But we'll talk about it later. But now it's like, bro, there's a lot of Carolina jerseys out there.
Yeah.
They done gave out a lot of jerseys to some dudes that are playing for, some other universities, and it's frustrating because it's just like having played at Carolina, you want to see those guys, you want to see these kids like Tyler Nichols stay there, develop, and grow into that player, that that clearly Carolina saw him as, but
it's not happening.
It's not happening anymore, man. So y'all let us know what y'all think about that.
Yeah.
With the changing landscape. And just y'all are fans just like us. We've clearly stated our opinions on that. But it is what it is.
I think it's tough on fans because they want to see a guy.
Sure. It's tough on the staff, bro. Like,
that too. Yeah.
Carolina fans, they're up in arms. I'm like, yo, they're trying to get this thing going. The portal is open. They need to start. They're already doing in-home visits. I read one report that said when they signed Brady Manick, they first contacted him on Monday. He was signed on Friday. There was never even an in-home visit. They did an interview over Zoom. That's how fast the portal is going. That's how fast things are moving.
Let's be honest. Since college basketball has a long history of some under-the-table stuff going on. I'm not talking financially right now, but I would venture to guess that for a guy like Tyler Nichols to put his name into the portal, he probably there's been some level of contact during the season.
Yeah. Just like if you were a disgruntled, professional, lawyer, I don't know. Just, you're things ain't going well. You already on the phone like, yo, where we at? Where we going? Where we
the other guys that recruited me, the other assistant coaches at another school that recruited me, you're either getting the call from them or you're making the call.
Yeah, this was in the works. Dude, I mean, these dudes are dipping a weekend, bro. Yeah. You ain't leaving. I mean, we've seen the numbers, though. A lot of these kids are putting their names in the portal, and they're going to be right at home. Yeah. Community college, waiting for another call.
People get left out all the time. But one more parting shot I forgot to mention with the whole NIT thing. I don't know if you –
we moving on.
No, we're going to go back to it. I don't know if you saw Juwan Howard, his comments. Basically, he was one of the maybe Michigan was second 4 out or something like that. They were
Yeah.
close. And I'm not saying this was directly at Carolina,
For sure.
but he was quoted before they played their first game saying, basically, we're not a program that's too big for the NIT. And a lot of people kind of pointed at Carolina that he was,
And then the same guy like punched an assistant coach last year. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, kudos to Michigan. We handled them. We beat them.
You did?
Clearly didn't do anything to help us get into the NCAA tournament.
No, it did not.
But we already talked about this. I mean, we're moving on.
Yeah.
We didn't want the NIT.
Season's over.
Sorry, fans.
For both of us.
You have to wait. We'll have to wait. So exciting / no, these are exciting times. Hey, there's only one team that's juiced up at the end of the season. That's the team that wins the national championship.
Well, I do think if you had played in the NIT and won that, you would have been in one of 3 teams that ends the season with a win. So
I think you saw like 2 number 1 seeds got upset.
Yeah.
So that just goes to show you.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all tuning in to another ruckus of an episode.
Don't worry, we'll still be coming with the content. We'll hopefully be putting up our first interview soon with former.
Maybe next week. We'll see.
Maybe next week. But we will still be coming with content. There'll be plenty of talk about Duke and Carolina, as well as stuff about the NCAA tournament, our experiences about this time of the year. So plenty more content coming your way. Don't worry, it'll be great.
Hit us in the mailbag. Hit us in the comments section. Let us know if there's anything specifically y'all would want us to cover on, especially now that Carolina and Duke season are both finished. We don't want to rehash the season too much. Maybe we'll take an episode just to kind of go back over it one last time before we officially put it to bed. But we appreciate y'all. Shout out to our producer Dev, always holding it down for us. Hit us with the subscription, give us a like, comment, all that good stuff. Y'all don't understand how far it goes. And we appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode of the Better Blue Pod.
Go Duke, go Carolina.
Peace.
Women.